Does any of this sound familiar? You're constantly fighting distractions and watching your productivity slip away. You feel overwhelmed, stressed, and unclear about your next step. And despite your outward success, there is this nagging fear that you're not performing at your true potential. You're worried about staying relevant and being irreplaceable in today's competitive market, but you're just not sure what you could do to create better results without adding even more hours to your work week. If you're nodding along, you're not alone. These are the exact challenges that my clients have come to me with. But the great news is, once I taught them something called flow state, they then had a tool to overcome these common issues. You've actually been there yourself before. It's likely just not been on command. So think of the times when you felt overproductive and like you were right on top of everything and you had crystal clear clarity, a lot of creativity, and you wish that it wasn't just a fluke, but you knew how to bring this about on command. Well, that is flow state. This is where time seems to disappear and your productivity is off the chart. Everything just flows. What if I told you that getting into that state of blissful focus and creativity wasn't just luck? What if you could actually access this consistently and on demand? Think about your biggest challenges, that endless battle with distractions. Well, flow naturally clears and silences the mental chatter. Feeling overwhelmed by your decisions? Flow creates mental clarity that makes prioritization intuitive. If you're worried about standing out in a competitive market, flow consistently leads to work that is 5 to 10 times more productive and creative than your normal output. And here's what makes flow state so powerful for business professionals. When you're in flow, your brain releases a precise cocktail of performance-enhancing neurochemicals. This creates a state where distraction naturally falls away, decision-making becomes crystal clear, and creative problem-solving feels effortless. You'll find yourself executing complex tasks with remarkable precision while experiencing a deep sense of control and confidence. This is where you feel like you're running on all cylinders with jet fuel, and time just passes so quickly, yet seems like you have a myriad of hour after hour to get your complex tasks done, even though you've been able to complete it in a very compact frame of time. It's super powerful. And flow isn't some new age concept or hippy-dippy woohoo thing. It's actually been studied by psychologists for decades. It was pioneered by Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi at the University of Chicago, and most recently, Stephen Kotler, who I actually have studied under, has expanded this into modern top performance areas of every field, from Olympic athletes to Fortune 500 CEOs. They've all been using these principles to achieve extraordinary results. Beyond this, when we understand the neurological advantages that flow state gives us, it's easy to see why the great visionaries of the past and the present have all been using flow state to unravel the complex and even seemingly unsolvable until the moment problems that have really changed the world as we know it. The science is clear. Flow can increase productivity by up to 500%, and it's been shown to accelerate learning by up to 490%. If you could learn how to use this tool and put it in your tool belt, why wouldn't you? It definitely gives every person who utilizes it the competitive edge. The history and the research shows this isn't just theory. It's not just for pro athletes either, or musicians, or the world's greatest mathematicians solving the world's problems. This is a practical, science-backed approach that fits into your busy professional life. No meditation retreats required, of course, unless you want them. I know, hearing all this makes it seem that flow could be the answer to all of your issues, and it can drastically change things for you for sure. But it isn't as easy as just wishing your way into flow. There's actually a few key things that need to be in place or not be in place for a person to be able to drop into flow at will. If you're curious about what those are, you're definitely going to want to join me over the next few days, because I'm going to walk you through exactly what needs to be in place or removed for you to be able to do this. And I'm going to actually help you understand the basics of the 4 flow pillars that are required for the flow state, And I'm going to give you a couple examples of simple ways to establish them as part of your workday so you can create this powerful foundation of peak performance in your everyday life. So definitely be sure to watch the rest of the series to get all the inputs and the things that you can easily set up in your day to access flow state at will. Now, the 4 pillars that need to be in place consist of removing flow blockers, creating flow proneness, and then stacking flow triggers. And those 3 together then help us utilize what we call the flow cycle, which is actually the cycle with which we then drop into flow. Now, I know that sounds a little complicated. It actually can happen all in a matter of minutes, sometimes even less than a minute. But I can't go into all that today. We will cover this all in detail over the coming days. But just let me give you a little small taste right now with a simple challenge. So next time you're starting an important task, try this. Just ask yourself, what's that exact next step that I need to do in this important task? If that step has multiple smaller steps, I want you to write those down in order. And then we're going to actually create a clear goal that will help with flow proneness and flow triggers. Once we've got that done, we're going to eliminate all notifications from your computer. You're going to remove your phone from the room you're working in for the next 25 minutes. And this will remove a few of the flow blockers. Now, looking at that task list you just created, determine how much of it you could realistically accomplish in 25 minutes. And then what I want you to do is stretch yourself to do just a little bit more or compress the time by just a little bit. And what I mean by this is if you thought you could do 5 of the items on the list, stretch yourself to do 6. Or if that's not doable, if you couldn't possibly fit all 6 in, then if you have 25 minutes, I want you to compress it to 20. This also creates another flow trigger by compressing time and making this just a little bit more difficult. That actually helps us drop into flow more easily. Now, if you do put all these together, you're going to be super surprised how easy it is to drop into at least a mini flow state or a deep productive work state. And of course, throughout the week, I'm going to give you even more in-depth, step-by-step access to flow. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, here's a bonus pro tip. This is something I actually do for myself every day, and I challenge my clients to do right out of the gate when we're onboarding them. But that is to create this list that we just talked about the night before, and then do the rest of the things first thing in the morning before you've done anything else. And I even mean looking at your phone, except for to turn the alarm off when you wake up. You'll find if you do those steps beforehand at night, and then activate that and just drop right into the work you've already set up with your clear goals the next morning, first thing before doing anything else, you will drop even easier into a flow state. It's a really great way to get a taste of flow with only a few little tools in your tool belt. So obviously, with the tool as powerful as the flow state, everything I've covered today is just the beginning. We've barely skimmed the top, but hopefully those steps will help you get just a taste of it, and you'll see how powerful this can be as you learn the rest of it. What you're going to want to do is click the link below. That way you'll have access to the playlist. I am going to be adding all the videos in this series there in the playlist. That way, if you miss a post that has the next video in the series, you've already subscribed and followed the playlist so you can have every single step in the order that you need to understand it over the next few days. So remember, guys, flow isn't just for pro athletes. It's not just for artists and all those mathematicians solving our world problems. It is for driven professionals like you and I, people who are ready to unlock our highest potential and to be able to show up as our best selves. That part of us that we know we've been struggling with distractions and lack of creativity and feeling stuck and overwhelmed, flow can help you get past those obstacles. I know it can. I've seen it do it in my own life. It's phenomenal how the jet fuel it's given me in my productivity, but even more rewarding, seeing it help client after client get over those hurdles just by learning these few tools and tapping into a little bit of neuroscience and being a little geeky with me. So come join me, check out the playlist, and watch for the rest of this week's editions.